Sari Domingues. How are you doing?
I'm doing just great.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your campaign. I understand that you're running for state assembly for California's 37th district, and you're running as a Republican in a state that votes overwhelmingly Democrat, and you are running against an incumbent who's also a Democrat. So tell me a little bit about your vision and how do you see your vision being better for the district?
Well, um, I'm not a politician. I'm a businesswoman. I retired 5 or 6 years ago. I took care of my mother and my mother in law and some other elderly people. They've all passed. So I was looking for things to do now. And I was approached to run for assembly. And I talked to my husband about it. And I like the idea. And I'm really glad I'm running. I've been enjoying the campaign. Yes, I am the underdog. I am a grassroots person and a Democrat, but things are changing, and I think more and more people are kind of seeing what I've been seeing over the last few years. I grew up here in Santa Maria and lived in California my whole life. Actually, I'm eighth generation Californian, so many people have left, but I'm going to stay and fight. So when I grew up, things were different, and my children grew up, things were different. But then it started changing, and I stand back and I say, how did we get this way? How did everything go up in price? How did safety start becoming a problem in our nice, beautiful community and our counties? How did the schools? There's things going on in the schools that I have found out. I also opened up a chapter for Moms for Liberty for Santa Barbara County. So we started really looking at things. Found out a lot of the laws are coming down from the state. School districts have to follow the law, or they're afraid they won't get funding or that they'll get sued. So hopefully, in the position up there, I can help stop or talk with everybody about what we're doing. And, is it really the best for our children? Is it really best for the parents what these bills have been doing? And my opponent has voted for all these bills, these changes, and I don't think they're good. So this is why I'm standing up so I can get up there to help stop and change things and get California back to be the beautiful state it can be. He has shut down oil. He wants to shut down all alternative energies, and I don't think that's economically sound. I think we need the diversity of energies um, for many reasons. So I also want to see more safety. We talk about the homeless, but nothing's been done, and it's a very complex, and it needs to be dealt with at the state and your county, city levels. But we got to work together, and we got to work with multiple agencies because it's going to take multiple agencies to figure out how to get help these people and get them taken care of to a sense of where they want to be as an American.
Right. Yeah, and there is a lot of groupthink that go into politics that if a politician votes with the party, they don't necessarily believe everything that the party is voting for, but they just go with the party because they have to watch for
Mhm.
their campaign and for the success of their reelection. So what you're doing is, you're not a career politician, and actually, you just entered into politics, right?
Yes.
So
I
go ahead.
I did work my career for 30 years. I worked in government, starting in a school district. Then I went to Santa Barbara County, and
Right.
then I ended up in Monterey County. So I understand government business. I understand some of the politics and how these agencies make decisions. So it's not like I'm have no experience. My job also allowed me to have to deal with multiple people and
Mhm.
have a very high end job where I had a lot of deadlines to meet. So I've obtained skills that will be perfect for me up there. I have two associates, a bachelor's degree in business management, and a master's in organizational leadership.
Mhm.
And I really think it's going to take a good leadership up there, common sense leadership that understands our Constitution and is willing to dive in and really work with everybody to see, what the decisions we're making. Is it only helping a few, or is it really helping everyone as much as we can, the majority? Um, so those are things I keep in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, and what made you actually get into the political sphere? I understand that there are certain things that you want changed. Um, but besides, what you've explained, what was the actual, turning point that you should probably get into this campaign? And what made you choose actually being a Republican? Because I also understand that that was all fairly new to you.
No, I've
No.
always been a Republican.
Okay. Okay.
I've
Yeah.
always been a Republican. Now, my mother was a Democrat, and
Right.
I have couple brothers that are Democrats. But we talk, we have discussions all the time. But what I found lately is the Democratic Party that was my mother's Democrat Party, my brother's. I really think something's happened. Um, I think it's been hijacked, and they have an agenda, especially here in California, because I've been really studying all the bills. I've been reading up on what's going on, and there seems to be an agenda. And the way I'm seeing it is, I think they're taking California down the wrong road, and I'd like to stop that and recorrect it, so we stay, um, correct that so that we do become the California we need to be. Um, the reason I say this is because and I do have, things behind it and why I say this, but when I created my Moms for Liberty
Mhm.
chapter, that started really opening eyes. But I started becoming more political because, like everybody else, I worked, I raised my children, I went to school, I was busy. I didn't pay much about politics, but when the time came, I did study and I voted. I was a constant voter. And my sister told me to take a look at what's going on about 2012. And I started realizing things actually happened to me personally that was detrimental to me as a middle class or lower middle class person. So I thought, well, I think they're trying to destroy this middle class. And middle class is our foundation of an American society, that we have that link to allow us to go up or down wherever we need to within, you know, our society. And a couple other things happened. And then my sister, who's a Republican, introduced me to the Trump campaign when that started. I watched a lot of things about him, but I look at a candidacy, I look at people about what their capabilities are.
Mhm.
And I realized early on that Trump was a businessman. He got things done. He surrounds himself with very intelligent people that are going to get things done. So I really, really liked what he could do for the Republican Party. Now, I've run into a lot of people that can't stand him and hate him, and they don't want to vote for me because I like Trump. But you know what? I tell them, I said, you can vote for whoever you want or whoever you don't want. That is our constitutional right. And I believe that. And I'm okay with it. But look at what I can do for your state, my qualifications, what I believe in. A lot of people put him down because he said something about veterans. Well, my father and my father in law were Korean veterans. My
Mhm.
oldest son is a Gulf War veteran. My grandson, he just graduated from the Naval Academy and now he's learning how to fly and be in aviation. So I support veterans 110%. I am all for veterans. And yes, anything we can do for them is high on my priority list. Um, but anyway, I also started becoming very aware of political things, especially when I was taking care of my mother, taking care of other elderly people, and I was with them and listened. I listened to them and what they thought, and because they're wise, they've lived a long time. So it really convinced me that I felt I was on the right path, listening to elder people, watching, analyzing. I'm by trade a business analyst. And what that means is that I take care of computer database systems, complex, $1 million database systems I did for the whole county of Monterey, which
Wow.
employed more than 5,000 employees. So I had to problem solve. I had to project manage. I had timelines. I had to, I had a high level job and I enjoyed it. Did it 10 years before I retired.
Well, so
Had my
you
dream. That was,
so you definitely have the experience, and then
mhm.
entering into this political space, you are seeing the changes that are happening. And I think by having a podcast, I also need to be very careful about what I say and what we say, what we talk about, because as you mentioned that the Democratic Party has been hijacked. I think the entire narrative has been hijacked, and we need to fit into a certain narrative. And if we don't fit into that narrative, we get censored. And I've voted Democrat, and I barely started voting Democrat in 2016. But I think a
Mhm.
turning point, as you mentioned, that actually happened was COVID-19, and that was a turning
Yes.
point for a lot of people. You know,
Yes.
the information
I
that
was already turning I was turning before that and seeing the things. But you're right.
yeah.
COVID was icing on the cake.
Oh yeah, and that revealed a lot of what's happening, and that our own government could lie to us. Now, I don't really want to get into that because I mentioned that there's a lot of censorship going on, and by
Mhm.
saying COVID-19 wasn't as bad as they made it out to seem, they could basically say that I'm spreading misinformation, and I don't want to get into any of that. But
You're spreading disinformation. What's
yeah.
wrong with you? Okay,
Yeah.
I understand. And but I think things are all coming out. I think they're all going to come forward because Americans, okay, even though I'm a Republican, I talk to Democrats. My mother was a Democrat. My brother is. Actually, my brother's voted for me, and he's going to vote for me.
Yeah.
But because he knows who I am, and that's what it's about. I am an American.
Yeah.
Okay, we do have these parties we all fit in, but really, I hope my goal is to bring that Democratic Party back and the Republican,
Mhm.
and let us work together like we always did, because we things have gone very extreme, and how we got there, well, there's all kinds of thoughts on that, but all I know is a lot of people left California. That's a
Mhm.
fact.
Yeah.
My son left, my sisters left, my brother left, and it was because it cost too
Yeah.
much taxes.
I left.
So, yeah, and people, and what that did to our state, that was revenue, billions of dollars in revenue we lost. And then we've had big corporations. I mean, Elon Musk just left, and somebody else is leaving too. That's a big corporation right now.
I think
Those,
Chevron.
yet those are revenues. Yes, it is Chevron. These are revenues we're losing, and now we're like, what? Last I know, we're like $83 billion in debt, and that's just the last I looked, and heard. Maybe more. It might be different now, but it's a lot of money we're in debt. We shouldn't be in debt.
No.
We should prosper. California is a wonderful state. It's got so much to offer, but they're cutting back the oil. They're cutting back. My opponent does not want oil. My opponent quoted, and I will quote him because he did it in the newspaper or the
Mhm.
Sun. He said he cannot wait till we put the wind turbines out in the ocean and shut down Diablo nuclear power plant.
Mhm.
And I disagree with them. Okay, that's fine. I do disagree with them. So I have a different agenda. already. He also voted for a lot of bills that came through this last 2 years when he's in office. To He voted to allow 12-year-olds to be able to decide on their own medical stuff without telling parents. He voted on the famous 1955 AB 1955 that made Elon leave, and that says a teacher, if a child's going by a different gender, using different pronouns, they cannot tell parent. And I think that the most important and the very first person should ever tell when a child's having any emotional or social or any problem is the parent, and work with the parent and the child.
Yeah, because
And they
well, sorry, I remember when I was in school, I had to tell my parents about sex education. The teachers couldn't discuss anything that had to do around sex without my
Mhm,
parents' permission. But now
right.
children could
There's
just,
no You
uh,
can't even opt out. I've had students come up to me because I've been talking to a lot of people and their children, grandchildren. They don't wanna take those classes. There's classes they don't wanna take, but they have to or they won't be able to graduate, they're told. There's no opting out, there's no alternative class. So these are things I wanna work on
mhm.
because, again, these parents and children should have choices, and they're not. Again, they're making it mandatory, just like they did with the COVID, and I do not believe in mandatory. We can offer people lots of stuff, offer them lots of stuff. It's their decision. It's the adult decision.
Yeah, because I remember I just turned 30, so I don't ever remember gender identity actually being that big of a thing or a thing at all when I was like in fifth grade, fourth grade, and
Mhm.
that influence has to be coming from somewhere. Children don't just identify as whatever gender they
They don't.
want. Yeah, so it's
Maybe in high school, it wasn't until high school when we kind of had little rumors flying that such and such is lesbian, such and such is gay. Somebody moved to San Francisco because he was gay, and my husband and I looked at each other because we were high school sorts, and we're
yeah,
like, "Oh, okay." Nobody had a big deal about it.
yeah,
Nobody was hateful. Nobody. It was like, "Oh, okay."
and
And I believe that's how it is. I mean, they keep making up this thing of all this hate. Well, if people are going to be hateful and hurt somebody physically, even mentally or emotionally, that needs to be stopped. That's what you stop. But now, and they always say, oh, they're born this way. That might be some truth to it, maybe,
mhm,
but it's a very small percentage. They are now getting children to make the choice to be that way. And
yeah,
I say that because I have proof and I lived through it with someone very dear. And it wasn't they were that way. It was a choice. If they truly were that way, I would have known them growing up. And you know what? It wouldn't have bothered me.
mhm,
But what bothered me is I knew this person wasn't that way. They were experimenting, they were told, they were indoctrinated, they chose. But then guess what? They're not really living that life. So, okay. But what if that person really got involved? Or it got even worse, where they wanted to transition and stuff before their puberty? That stuff needs to stop. If you want to transition when you're an adult, that's how you really feel when you get to an adult, that's when you choose. We don't let children drink. They're not supposed to smoke. They're not supposed to do things because they're children.
right. And transitioning to a new gender is permanent. You wouldn't let a child get a tattoo, but
Yeah.
they're letting
Yeah.
children
Yeah.
transition, and that's more permanent than actually getting a tattoo.
Yes, it is. You can't go back. And So I do think it's not a child's decision. A parents are being hijacked too. They're being told your child's going to kill themselves. No, no, the parent really needs better guidance to help their child go through whatever they're thinking, and we'll talk about it. See how they feel when they become an adult. Okay, then as an adult, after they've gone through puberty, they can decide. And I'm going to tell you, when I grew up, and I've known a lot of people I've talked to, I wanted to be a boy so bad. My older brother got to go hunting, he got to go do all this stuff. I wanted to go. I wanted to be a boy, right? Because
Mm.
all my uncles would take the boys hunting, and I, as a girl, a young girl, 6th grade, I couldn't go. I didn't understand why. Because right, I wasn't the sex wasn't a big thing in my life then. And now, I'm like, yeah, no, I didn't really want to be a boy, but it was just where I was at that time. You're right. It's emotional when you start going through puberty. This is not the time to make big decisions
Mhm.
when you're going through puberty because you're not going to make good decisions, guaranteed.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I have a lot to say about that, and they're pushing it. They're going to make it mandated. I mean, they're already taking children away from their parents if they don't agree. And it's like, no, it's up to the parent that agreed. Now, the parent shouldn't be abusive. They should not be abusive to a child because of that. No, that you need to help the parent work it through, you know. And even though there's people that just don't believe in it totally, period, well, that's fine. You don't have to believe or think that's the way people should be, but you can't be hateful. You can't be mean about it. That's your limit.
Yeah,
But we
because
all can want to think. We just need to be kind to each other and not be hateful. But they're making it hateful because they're pushing it. They're making it mandatory, and it's causing a division. It's not causing unity. It is not.
we're not talking about consenting adults here. We're talking about children and
Mhm.
influencing children into transition and make a permanent choice
Mhm.
that they may grow up and realize they didn't really identify like that, but it was all the influences, and they're very vulnerable to peer pressure as well.
They are. We are. Yes, we all are, and especially during that age. I tell people when your child gets to be a teenager, when your child gets to be a teenager, it's almost like they're turning two again.
Hmm.
And when you have a 2-year-old, what do? You watch them like a hawk. You make
Right.
sure they don't run out in the street. You make sure they're not climbing on something to get hurt. That's what you do with the 2-year-old. Well, guess what? When they be a teenager, they're a 2-year-old again. You have to watch out for them and guide them. See what they're thinking, what they're being exposed to help give your values to your children. That's what it's about. But it's missing. And I don't know if it's because we don't have a good family units. I don't know if people are just too busy and they're just letting it go. I'm not sure what it is, but I do know family and connecting with your children. And if it's hard for them to talk to the parent, there's always a grandparent. Because tell me, I will talk to all my grandchildren, and I'm very open to them all.
Yeah, and just by having this discussion, one side is trying to make the other side look like the bad person, and they're
Mhm.
not, that they don't
We're not.
tolerate these decisions. But at the end of the day, we're talking about children here and
Yes,
influencing children to make a permanent decision, and that's not okay.
exactly. Mm-mm. Yep, not okay. We might as well let them all drive when they're 10. Why don't we let them all smoke and drink? Oh, give them drugs? I mean, what the hell? If they want to. And it's like, no, no. But
Yeah.
that's what it's like. And we need to stop this and start educating parents and the children. And a lot of this stuff is going on in our schools. They
Hmm.
are sexualizing our schools, and they have plans down the road because I've already been looking into the curriculum, and they're going to start doing a comprehensive sex ed, which they start in kindergarten. And I
Yeah.
say no,
That's way too early for this.
very
Let
early.
children be children.
Be children.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because these kids are getting sexualized, and even early on, you're going to see sexual deviance. That's what's going to happen. And I talk with parents because I let them know, and yeah, raise your children to be strong and know. And I know a lot of children, a lot of my nieces and nephews are being raised wonderfully, and they do know. But what I tell them, it's the ones that are left behind that aren't being guided, that are being absorbed by all this, that become deviant. They're going to go after your children. It's you, even though they know better, they could get themselves in a situation that you don't want, and they should never be in a situation because children shouldn't be doing deviant things like that. but it's going to happen if we make it like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah, and some may say not letting children change their gender is a radical idea, but I think it's the other way around. It's
Hmm.
and radical not in a good way, you know.
Yeah,
But
we need to take care of our children, and we need to take care of our parents and our
yeah,
families.
yeah,
I'm blessed that I have a wonderful family, extended family. My husband and I both, our brothers, sisters, in-laws, nephews, nieces. I mean, and we've all bettered ourselves with each generation. And I just think it's a wonderful thing. And I want to be able to see this continue with my grandchildren and great grandchildren because I came from a large family, lower, probably lower class, poor, but my mother budgeted, my dad worked hard. We ate, we had our clothes, we had hand-me-downs, but we had a lot of love. And I've achieved more than my brothers and sisters in my family, but I did it because my goal wasn't to be better than them or because they are wonderful. I've got wonderful brothers and sisters. But my children have achieved more. I have a mess. My oldest son has his doctorate. A
mhm,
niece has a doctorate. You know, they've achieved, my next generation has achieved more. And now I look at the grandchildren and they're achieving. So that's what America's about. And we got to make sure it keeps that way. But somehow there's laws that are going in place that are stopping it.
mhm.
And I see it because I analyze it and I can see where it's going and it's not good.
Yeah, and there's also
Mhm.
crime going on. Although statistics or historical statistics have shown crime going down, but it's still something that's a huge issue because the way that we react to it and, being very lenient on criminals. And I know that that's another another issue that you discuss in your platform.
Yes, they are. And they've passed bills. Well, a bill was passed to allow illegal immigrants to buy and sell young girls, and it's only a misdemeanor. We, as Republicans, tried to put a bill in to make it a felony, and all the Dems said no, including my opponent. So, therefore, oh, I guess you can buy and sell children, and it's only a no, it's a felony. And this sexualization that's going on in schools, I'm sorry. I think they're setting these poor children up for pedophiles. And I'm pedophile is a crime and it will always be a crime, just like murdering somebody, you know, a serial you want your child to be a serial killer. What in time is that going to be okay because that's just how he is and that's what he wants to do? No.
Hmm.
We need to have these lines and we're just walking over these lines. And we need to bring lines. Boundaries are good for society. That's what laws are for. Laws create justice.
Yeah, and it just
And if
seems
the
that
law's put in place and there's no justice, then the law's not right. So
yeah.
that's this is where I'm coming from. So, like I said, I'm really for law everybody in our communities, but we do need stricter laws, and a lot of people don't like that. They want to baby everybody, but no, the stealing is bad. The lying is bad. My mother and I witnessed somebody running out of CVS with a basket full of stuff, throw it in their car, and take off while the manager ran after him. Didn't
Yeah,
catch him.
they do that because they know that they're going to get away with it, and although
Yes,
you know that's not as bad as it seems in hindsight, but
but it is
it's
bad because when those stores are losing too much revenue, either it passes it to us or they close down.
oh yeah, I mean we're seeing that in that Bay Area, a lot of these stores have closed
Yep.
down because
San
of crime.
Francisco too. San Francisco's experience it. Just look up there and you'll see if that's how you want to have life. What a beautiful city it was. I used to go there every year for the women's agriculture. We had a fundraiser where we'd go up there and then we'd shop and get on a bus and give donations and do things and get
Hmm.
go back home for the day. By the fourth year, it was like not good. My friend's daughter came and she was scared and somebody had approached her. homeless man from the on it was on the sidewalk, and he came and tried to grab at her, and
Wow.
it upset her. And we were sitting there having our lunch, and somebody was eating. They put their food, they didn't finish it, and put it in the garbage can. And within 10 minutes, this lady comes in and grabs it out of the garbage can. And it's
Wow.
like, what is happening to our society? So I'm sorry, San Francisco, and actually, I saw news reels on what happened on their Pride parade. You know, we all want Pride parades. Well,
Mhm.
the San Francisco Pride parades are obscene, indecent, and they don't get arrested, and it's sick.
Mhm.
They're all standing around naked. This little girl was traumatized. I can't tell you what they do, and it's just awful. I don't want that here. It shouldn't come here,
Yeah.
but it will if we don't do something about it.
Yeah, and something like that
It's
should.
not okay naked and having sex in the street. It's not okay.
Yeah,
But
something
they're
like
trying to
that
make the
should.
kids feel it is.
I mean,
They're
something.
making that generation think it is, and it's not.
Yeah, like something like that should be should not be in a public area.
Mm-mm.
They could have it, in a
Mm-mm.
18 and
Right.
over event, but out in the public, that's where the line is drawn.
And
And
it is up there.
yeah, and
That's where it's see, it started out not that bad
mhm.
years and years ago. My brother lived his whole life in San Francisco, so we would go up there at times. And my mother actually went to one of their parades, 20, 30 years ago, and it wasn't that bad. There wasn't that nudity like that. Now look where it's at. And this is what I'm talking about. A child and needs guidance, and parents, you need to know and have guidance and boundaries. And I know there's a lot of parents that don't, and their kids then get off to whatever, and it's very sad. Um, life's a lot more complex. And because it's so complex, I feel really sorry for the children growing up in this age because they do want to grow up when they're 14, but they are nowhere ready for what reality as an adult is go for them. And it's hard to tell them that, but hopefully you can, kind of guide them through it.
Yeah, and that's what we could basically just hope for. But there
Mhm.
are a lot
And
of
these bills are
issues.
breaking that down. The bills are breaking it down, and my opponent is all for those bills. He's gone that way. He votes everything to this. That's why I call it hijacked, because it's really a far left.
Mhm.
If you look at MAGA, I'm a MAGA person,
Okay, yeah.
but it is far right. But I think we became that way because somebody needs to stand up and stop this far left so we can come back together. I think that's the only way we're going to come back is to, because as a MAGA, I'm happy to come back and be a full Republican, and
Mhm.
have our Democrat parties and work together like America was formed and all about.
And I think that whole situation happened because the left just kept moving too far left, and now,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're considered far right if you
Yeah.
have um, just common sense
Mm-hmm.
issues that you support. Um, I
Yeah.
voted Democrat. Uh, I consider myself liberal, but according to the standards they
Mm-hmm.
have set, they'd probably consider me conservative.
You're more Republican now. My mother, I know, and I tell my brother, you guys are more Republican now if you stand in the John F. Kennedy Democrat. But I'm very happy about the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. movement. I was lucky enough to go meet a group,
Oh, wow.
and we had so much in common because I am a supporter of Robert F. Kennedy Jr. before he even ran for president. And I really like, and I'm so excited for what he's going to be able to do in this administration.
Yeah, and he does also talk about how these private corporations are poisoning our food supply,
Mhm.
and he
Yeah,
wants to put a stop to that.
I love it, and I'll
Yeah,
back him up.
yeah,
I'll use my I'll use my leadership up there because I know a lot of people are feeling that same way. And when my constituents are telling me how they feel, and I talk to a lot of them, so I know where the majority is, right?
right.
Then I will help work with them. And and it's not what I want. I tell you who I am, so I am common sense. I am go for responsibility, morality, and also you have to have um accountability. That's where I stand. So, but I will listen, and I I want to do what my constituents want to do, because that's what it's about. It's bottom up. And we've
Yeah.
turned and flipped it all top down. And no, that's not how our government should be working.
No, I definitely agree, and I also mentioned, the turning point was COVID-19. Leading up to now, that we saw that Joe Biden was running for re-election, but
Hmm.
he was not of state of mind to really
No.
uh, run.
Yeah.
And they tried to hide it until they couldn't hide it anymore. Uh, and they basically all lied to us. Now,
Hmm.
something that they say is you need to vote Democrat to protect democracy. But
Mm-mm.
from what? Because, Kamala was chosen. She was very unpopular when she was running for president, and they chose her to be the VP. Now they just take
Right.
Biden off and just put in Kamala without anyone really voting for her. But we need to
Yeah,
vote
it's not
for her.
constitutional. And they talk about democracy.
Yeah. Like we need to vote for her to protect democracy when she's running when no one chose her to run or
Right.
be president. So,
You get it. You get it.
yeah.
They keep talking about democracy. While the United States of America's Constitution, we're a constitutional republic. And being a republic means it's by the people. It's the people that decides. Our democracy is only as a form we use. We're not a
Mhm.
democracy. We're a republic. We just use the democratic way of voting and doing choice, choosing, and if we were a democracy, there is no democracy that can hold out itself. Pure democracy will destroy itself. That's why we're not a democracy.
Mhm.
And they keep saying this, and we're not. So we're a republic, and I believe in our Constitution. I've studied it, and they are breaking our Constitution in so many ways. So I want to stop it. We need to get back to our Constitution, to what our forefathers wanted, and really think about, we have the greatest country and we have a wonderful state. And I think California can come back because of the resources, because of the people, because of the things we have. And we just need to get that figured out.
Yeah, I know. California's a great state, and it could go
Mhm.
back to being what it once was. But
Yes.
absolute power will always destroy a nation, and that's what's happening with
Right.
Democrats. They feel like they have absolute
Yes.
power and just ruling how they want. The same thing could
Well, we need
happen.
to show that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing could happen with the right, but we always need balance. As much as half of the country doesn't like Democrats, the other half doesn't like Republicans. I think we do need each other, but we need to go
Mhm.
back to that where we could discuss ideas without fighting each other. And
Exactly. Because we're all Americans.
yeah,
We're all Americans.
yeah, but
That's when it comes down to it. That's how I feel. And I embrace Democrats and all kinds of people in different
mhm,
ways of thinking, as long as they have good character. Martin Luther King, he just was awesome. He said it. He was right. It's your character you judge
mhm,
people on, if you're going to do any judging. And I don't judge. I don't judge. That's for a
mhm,
higher being. But
yeah,
I do look for character. I look for character. Okay. I don't hate, because hate has no business in our society.
mhm.
And so I'm just hoping that I get the opportunity to get up there to the state. If we don't get more Republicans up there and it stays heavily Democrat, yes, they're not going to be very happy with me. But I promise everybody that I will use my voice and really try hard. And I just promised somebody last night that I promise I'm going to read all these bills that come by my desk, so I know what I'm voting on.
I mean, that's great to hear. But this has been an incredible conversation, and thank you once again for coming on. And I just wish you all the best with your campaign, and it's going to
Thank
be
you.
a tough battle, but you know
Yes.
that's what it takes.
Well, God willing, that I will win, and we'll see. Time will tell. But no matter what, I'm moving. I'm still going to move forward. I'm still going to be involved.
That's great. Well, thank you.
And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.